Dave Eigel. Address is, last name is Eigel, E-I-G-E-L. My address is 2258 Nimishillen Church Road, Canton, 44721. I would, as you know, I was at a meeting here about a month or so ago to talk to you about the Nexus pipeline that's planned to go through Stark County. And I'm back today to see if I can't make a second attempt at persuading the commissioners here to schedule a special meeting, which would give us an opportunity to come in and discuss in more detail this particular pipeline. In our group, we are the Coalition to Reroute Nexus. And since the time that I was here last time, we have continued to gain support from other townships and counties. If I'm correct now, I think we have 14 townships and have recently added Summit County as supporters to our group. Our group really represents property owners from all the way from Stark County all the way across the state into the west part of the state around Toledo. One of the things that I like to make clear about our group is that we are not against this pipeline. I mentioned that last time. We're not against what this line is meant to accomplish. We appreciate the value that it brings not only to Ohio, but also to the United States. Our main opposition is just running this line through heavily populated areas. And we believe that the big problem is at the national level, at the FERC level, who makes this decision, is that the regulations that govern where they can run these lines has not kept up with the increasing size and pressures of these pipelines. And having spent 30 years in the oil and gas business, being a petroleum engineer, the big thing that I think people don't understand is pressure. You know, this line is going to run at 1,440 PSI. That's a huge difference from the type of lines that we're used to that typically might run as high as 300, maybe up to 500 PSI. But when you start getting up to 1,400 PSI, it's a lot different. The purpose of coming today, though, is not to get into all the details, but I brought some of the other individuals that are part of our group that are supporting this effort. Probably the area that is most affected by this is the city of Greene, where this line is going to run through some very heavily populated areas, next to the Portage Lakes Career Center, as an example, some other schools and that type of thing. But we believe there's a better alternative, and one of the things that our group is undertaking right now is that we want to build our own pipeline route, which we think is better, and we're going to submit that to FERC, and we're going to show them that there is another route. In the studies that we've done, we've never seen anybody else ever do that type of thing, and we kind of resisted doing that ourselves, but we are now in the middle of undertaking our own pipeline reroute, where we're going to show FERC that there is a better place to put this line. And we're going to show very specifically how many homeowners are affected by the proposed Nexus route versus how many will be affected by our route. And so they will then have to make a decision if that justifies a reroute of the pipeline or not.
Without going into a lot of detail, how do you intend to develop an alternative pipeline route?
Well, fortunately, we've been very fortunate that the city of Greene has volunteered their mapping department. They have top-of-the-line mapping tools. They have the software and the hardware. They have one person in-house that is a dedicated mapping person. And we are going to study right down, to the detail level, the amount of wetlands that are affected by their route versus our route. The initial results that we have to date is showing that our route will probably affect about 50% less homeowners, and may affect on a wetlands per mile basis, we may affect approximately half the amount of wetlands that the proposed Nexus route is going to affect. So we're trying to do the same type of study that they're doing, so that we can show FERC that our route is a better route and the reasons why it's a better route. The real reason we're here, though, is we would like to get the support of the Stark County commissioners, along with the other governmental agencies that we have, the cities and the townships in Summit County. And I brought with me today, I hand you a copy. If you haven't seen it yet, I brought a copy of the just recently passed Summit County resolution.
We have seen a copy, but I haven't seen
you
the
have
signed copy. I haven't seen it.
Well, I don't have the signed copy either, but
Yep.
I'll give you a copy of that. We don't necessarily agree with everything in there, our group, but we think it's pretty close to the type of thing that we're in favor of. And we would, again, like to set up a special meeting where we can meet privately. Not privately, we would like to meet and be able to present our arguments in more detail with you for you to be able to take a position. And the last thing I'd like to say is that in the meeting that we just had with some of the top people at FERC, they made it very clear for them to make decisions on these things, they need to hear from the affected parties. And so though I know that the county does not have jurisdiction in this decision, and I think that was part of the reason why you reached a decision last time.
Yeah, I think that we had Brad, I think Brad has had
Right.
at least one conversation with you about.
Right.
about more than one.
And we recognize that the county does not have jurisdiction, but we still think this affects a lot of residents in the county, and that we think it's very important for FERC to hear from affected parties. And for them to make decisions, FERC is a disinterested party in this thing. They will listen to all the arguments, but they still need to hear from the affected parties and why they may be opposed to certain aspects of the system. And so we again come back to you and ask you for you to listen to our position, and if you're in favor, is to pass a resolution or at a minimum write a letter to FERC expressing that position, just so that they can take that into consideration in their decision. And with that, I thank you today, and I will pass it on to some of the others that are with me today.
And Dave, are you a lawyer by trade?
No, I'm not.
Oh, not, okay.
I'm a petroleum engineer.
Why, I thought you spoke too well for a lawyer, I guess.